What if the most stressful years of your life are already being created right now without you even noticing it? Not through some massive mistake, not through one catastrophic decision, but through small daily habits that slowly become your future lifestyle. The way you spend money, the way you handle pressure, the way you respond to loneliness, comparison, impulse, stress, discipline, all of it compounds quietly. And maybe that's the uncomfortable part nobody talks about. Your 20s are not just building your future income, they're building your future nervous system. Because one day, you wake up emotionally exhausted at 35, financially trapped at 42, burned out at 50, wondering when life quietly became something you survive instead of enjoy. And the strange part is, most people never notice it happening while it's happening. Because modern life normalizes emotional exhaustion early. Everyone is overwhelmed. Everyone is performing success. Everyone is trying to look stable. Everyone is quietly anxious about falling behind. So the pressure starts feeling normal, but it was never supposed to feel normal. And honestly, your 20s now happen inside a culture obsessed with appearance. Appearance online, appearance socially, appearance financially. People are trying to look successful before they feel emotionally secure. And over time, that creates dangerous habits. Luxury before stability, attention before peace, image before security. Because social media quietly rewards performance more than emotional sustainability. A person living quietly below their means looks boring. A person financing an expensive lifestyle looks successful. So naturally, people begin making emotional financial decisions without realizing it. And maybe that's why so many people in their 20s secretly feel anxious all the time. Because comparison became unavoidable. Every scroll becomes psychological pressure. Luxury apartments, vacation videos, designer fashion, business success stories, perfect relationships, perfect bodies, perfect lifestyles. And slowly, ordinary life starts feeling emotionally insufficient. That's the dangerous part about modern comparison culture. People no longer compare themselves to neighbors. They compare themselves to millions of edited strangers online. Strangers performing success professionally. And over time, people begin feeling behind even when they're progressing normally. That emotional pressure changes behavior. People spend money emotionally. They overspend socially. They buy things for identity instead of usefulness. Not because they're irresponsible, because human beings naturally crave belonging, and social media quietly teaches people that appearance creates value. So people begin chasing lifestyles they cannot sustainably maintain. And honestly, many people in their 20s are not financially struggling because they lack intelligence. They're struggling because modern culture constantly pushes emotional impulsiveness. Fast dopamine, fast spending, fast validation, fast entertainment. Everything is immediate now. And slowly, people lose the ability to tolerate discomfort. But discomfort is where emotionally peaceful futures are usually built. The ability to save quietly, the ability to delay gratification, the ability to avoid unnecessary pressure, the ability to live calmly while everyone else performs success publicly. That psychological discipline changes lives long term. But in your 20s, that lifestyle can feel emotionally uncomfortable because your 20s are deeply emotional years. You want experiences, status, freedom, validation, movement. You want to feel like your life matters, especially when everyone online appears to be moving faster than you. But the strange part is, future stress is rarely created by one huge mistake. It's usually built through repeated emotional patterns, small habits repeated daily, ignoring savings, ignoring sleep, ignoring health, ignoring discipline, ignoring emotional self-control. And over time, those habits quietly become lifestyles. That's why two people can earn the same income but experience completely different levels of anxiety. One feels emotionally stable, The other constantly feels overwhelmed, because peace is often behavioral before it becomes financial. And honestly, many people spend their 20s building pressure without realizing it. They normalize survival mode early. Late nights, constant stress, emotional spending, burnout, overworking, financial avoidance, and eventually their nervous system adapts to chaos. That's why some adults always feel emotionally restless even during calm moments, because internally their brain became conditioned to constant pressure. What most people never realize is that financial habits are often emotional habits first. Impulse spending is emotional. Lifestyle inflation is emotional. Debt avoidance is emotional. Comparison spending is emotional. Sometimes people are not buying things because they truly want them. They're buying temporary relief. Relief from insecurity. Relief from loneliness. Relief from feeling behind. But temporary emotional relief often creates long-term psychological pressure. And that pressure compounds quietly over years, until one day, life starts feeling heavier than it should, not because the person failed, but because they unknowingly built a lifestyle that constantly drains emotional energy. And maybe that's the scariest part. People often think stress comes from adulthood itself, but many times, stress comes from emotional patterns repeated long enough to become identity. Over time, people who never learned emotional discipline often become financially reactive adults. Every inconvenience feels overwhelming. Every setback feels catastrophic. Every comparison feels personal. Because internally, they never built stability. And honestly, stability is becoming one of the rarest emotional luxuries in modern society. Not attention, not status, not luxury. Peace. Real peace. The ability to rest without guilt, spend without panic, sleep without anxiety, exist without constantly feeling behind. That kind of peace is built slowly, usually through invisible decisions nobody applauds in your 20s. Living below your means, protecting your attention, choosing healthy environments, avoiding unnecessary debt, building patience, learning self-control. None of these things look exciting online, but they quietly determine how emotionally stressful your future becomes. And maybe that's why so many adults feel exhausted now, because modern culture teaches people how to appear successful before teaching them how to feel emotionally secure. So people master aesthetics before stability, performance before peace. And eventually, the emotional cost catches up. The burnout, the anxiety, the debt, the emotional exhaustion, that constant feeling of falling behind. That's why so many people now look functional externally, while internally feeling overwhelmed all the time. And honestly, that emotional exhaustion is difficult to explain unless you've lived it. It's waking up tired before the day even starts. It's calculating survival constantly in the background of your mind. It's feeling guilty when you rest. It's feeling anxious even during peaceful moments. Because once survival mode becomes psychologically normal, the nervous system forgets how to relax. And maybe that's the real reason your 20s matter so much. Not because you need to become rich immediately, but because your 20s quietly shape the emotional architecture of your future life. The habits, the mindset, the discipline, the nervous system, the relationship with money, the relationship with yourself, all of it compounds quietly. That's why some people enter their 30s emotionally calm, while others already feel defeated by life. One built peace early, the other built pressure. And maybe the biggest realization is this: your future stress is rarely created overnight. It's built through repeated daily patterns that once felt harmless. Skipping savings, living emotionally, constant comparison, overspending socially, ignoring mental health, avoiding discomfort. At first, these habits feel small, but over time, they quietly become the emotional structure of a person's life. And the terrifying part is, most people don't realize it while it's happening, because modern society normalizes emotional exhaustion so early. Everyone is tired. Everyone is overwhelmed. Everyone is anxious privately.
everyone is pretending everything is okay publicly. So suffering starts feeling normal. But it was never supposed to feel normal. Human beings were not designed to constantly perform stability while internally struggling emotionally. And maybe the real goal of your 20s is not building the most impressive life online. Maybe it's building a life that still feels emotionally peaceful when nobody's watching. Because at the end of the day, your future happiness will not come from how successful your life looked publicly. It will come from whether your daily life eventually feels emotionally safe to live inside, privately.